Okay. Now some of the previous classes. Now, as we have already discussed about the members of the class, I'm removing all this stuff. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is just I have will it give a compile error? Yes or no? Will it give a compile error? Yes? Why it will give a compile error? Two main methods. Even main method is also a method, no? Even main method is also a method. Okay, so for any method, whatever the method it might be, main method is special to only runtime environment. Main method is nothing special to compiler. The compiler will compile main method like any method. Main method is special only to the Java command. Main method is special only to the Java command. For compiler, main method is also like any method. So now will it be compiler? Method is overloaded. Both are strings, right? Now, how we can tell that it is overloaded? See, both having only one argument, and both the data type is string. How you can tell it is overloaded? See, both are strings. What is the data type here? In the first method, what is the data type? String array. What is the data type in the second method? String. Is string array and string the same or different? Is string array and string both are same or both are different? Definitely string array is different and string is different. So will it come under method overloading? Will it be method overloading or will it give compile time error? Is it overloading? Yes. This is method overloading, and if one is static and one is non-static, even in that case, methods are said to be overloaded. Okay. What we said is, okay, the method overloading will check only the method name and the list of arguments, not the left-hand side elements. So it will not check the left-hand side things. The method overloading will check only the method name and the list of arguments. That's it. So now, whatever it might be, if the method name is the same, then it will see the list of arguments. Is the list of arguments same? It appears to be same. It is string and it is string, but it's not string. It is a string array. String array is different and string is different. So these methods are said to be overloaded. Now, if the interviewer asks you, can I overload main method? Can we overload main method? Yes. Main method can be overloaded. Main method can be overloaded. Now, which one will be called? The first one or let's consider like I have public static. Now will it be compiled? Both are public static void main. One is string array and one is string. Will it be compiled? Yes. It will come under method overloading. Okay. This will be compiled just because the method overloading doesn't make a difference whether it is static or non-static. Method overloading doesn't make any difference whether it is static or non-static. So just the method overloading will check whether the method name is the same. If the method name is the same, it will expect the arguments to be different. If the arguments are same, then it will give a compile time error. All of you understood? All of you know what is method overloading and what are the rules that are applied to, what are the rules that we apply in method overloading? Everybody? Everybody know what is method overloading? No. Which one will be executed? The first one or the second one? In this case, in general case, yes, first one will be executed. In this case, we have main method which is public static void which takes a string. Now which one will be executed? Which main method will be executed? The first one or the second one? Definitely the main the JVM, okay, will consider a main method as a starting point of execution only when if it is public, static, void and the name is main and the argument list would be a string array. Then only it considers that as a starting point of execution. Okay? JVM will consider a method as a starting point of execution only when it should be public, it should be static and it should be, the return type should be void and the name should be main and the argument should be a string array. If that is the case, then only it will consider that method as a starting point of execution. Now, let's consider like I don't have this. Let's consider like I don't have this. Now, can I execute this application? Can I execute member demo? Can I execute member demo here? No. Yes or no? Definitely no. Just because there is no public static void main which takes string array as an argument. Okay? The execution will be initiated if there is only main method. And the execution will be initiated if there is a main method which could able to take a string array as an argument. Now, it is not a string array as an argument, it is just a string as an argument. But the execution will not be triggered by this main method. The execution will be triggered only if the main method is public static void main and which is string array as an argument. Okay? Now, will it be compiled? Will it be compiled? Yes, definitely. The compilation will never check any main method. The compiler doesn't look for any main method. Okay? The compiler will look for only the syntactical errors. The compiler will never look whether the main method is there or not. Okay? Now, this application will be compiled successful, but it will not be executed. Just if you see here, this application will be compiled successful, but while execution it is telling like I could not able to find a main method. No such method found error main. Okay, no such method found error main. Just because the runtime environment, while executing the application, the runtime environment could not able to find a main method. If it has a main method, if that class has a main method, then only the execution will be triggered. But the execution could not able to trigger just because there is no main method. There is no valid main method. A main method will be a valid main method at the runtime environment if it takes a string array. Okay. Now, what do we pass to this string array from the command prompt? Okay. See, why this string array is required? See, are we sending any? See, Java space member demo. That's it. This is a Java command and this is a class name. Okay. Now, why this should be string array? Why the main method should be string array? Why it can't be no arguments? Why it should have a string array? Means, okay, from the command prompt we can send any values. Okay, from the command prompt we can send any values. Let me execute. These values that we send from the command prompt while executing the Java command are called as command line arguments. Okay, the values that we send while executing the Java command, the values that we send while executing the Java command are called as command line arguments. And first, the Java command will take the very first one as a class name. The Java command, what it will do? It will take the very first one, Java as a command name, memory as a class name, and 12 and 13 as command line arguments. Java is a command, memory is a class name, 12 and 13 are the command line arguments. And that command line arguments will go to the string array. Whatever the command line arguments that we send, the command line arguments will go to the main method as string only. Even if we send 12 and 13 like this, they will go as strings only. Okay? Even if we send 12 and 13 here. Okay? Even if we send Java space, member demo space, 12, 13. See, 12, 13 appears to be integers, but to the main method they will go as 12 and 13. They will go as strings. Okay? The command line arguments will go as strings to the main method. So, to the main method, it will be like an array. And this array will be the main method. Okay, the JVM what it will do means with the command line arguments it will create an array. The JVM will create an array with the command line arguments. JVM will create an array with the command line arguments, and that command line arguments will be passed to call the main method. So let me try to access this array. So great creativity. See, in one movie, in some Telugu guys might understand this. The Chiranjeevi father-in-law is there, Allu Ramlinga. Okay. If he listens to the train sound, he will be doing like this. He will be shivering like anything. I think that guy also might be like that. He might be something like in the train. Okay? Where we are in the main method, right? See, now what I will do is, now, do you know arrays in C? Now how we can get the values of this array in C? See, I have this array, I want to print all the values in the array. How you will do that in C? What you will use? Either you use a for loop or while loop. Okay. So now I am using a for loop. Okay. Now until the length of the array. Okay. For any array in Java, there is an attribute named length. There is an attribute named length for any array in Java. This will give the number of elements present in the array. For any array in Java, we have an attribute length which will give a number of elements present in the array. Understood what we have done? Just this is for us looping the elements using a for loop or while loop is called as iteration. Okay? Looping the elements is called as iteration. In general, in C we call them as looping. In Java or any object-oriented programming language, we call it as iteration. Looping or iteration is one and the same. We call it as iterating the array. We call this process as iteration, iterating the array. Okay. Now even an array is considered to be a derived data type in Java. Even an array is considered to be a derived data type in Java. Any array, even it is a primitive array or a string array or any array, is considered to be a derived data type. Any array is considered to be a derived data type. The array may contain primitive elements or derived elements. Okay? Whatever the elements of array might be, any array is considered to be a derived data type in Java. Now let's try to compile this. And execute this. Okay. Now while executing what I'm doing, am I passing any command and arguments? No. Now will it come into the for loop? Yes or no? Yes or no? Will it come into the for loop if I don't pass any command and arguments? Just if I try to execute like this, I'm not passing any command and arguments. If I'm not passing any command and arguments, what the JVM will do means, the JVM will call the main method by using an empty array. Okay? The JVM will call the main method by sending a empty string array. Okay? See, if I pass any command and arguments, then the JVM will create an array for the command and argument and it will call the main method using that array. Let's consider that. I'm executing. Let's consider I have a main method which takes string array. Then if I pass JavaScript member demo space sum a space 10, then what the JVM will do is, the JVM will create a string array whose elements are a 10. Let's consider like then this string array will be passed and it will be the main method will be called. Let's consider we are executing directly Java space. Remember, without passing any command line arguments. If we are not passing any command line arguments, means even in that case, JVM will create an empty string array and call the main method. And in any case, the JVM will call the main method by passing a string array. Okay? If we are not passing any command line arguments, it will be an empty string array. If we are passing some command line arguments, then the string array contains those command line arguments. Okay? Now, let me pass some command line arguments. A10. So, A10 are coming as a command line arguments. Okay. Now, if I pass, that values are coming as a command line arguments. Understood? If we don't pass any command line arguments, then okay, the JVM will create an empty string array, and by passing the empty string array, okay, it will make a call to the main method. At any case, Java, when we execute the Java command from the command line, okay, the JVM will create a string array. If we have command line arguments, it will create a string array with the command line arguments. If you don't have a command line arguments, or if you don't pass any command line arguments, then it will create an empty string array and it will call the main method. Understood? That's how it will be. That's how the execution will be. Now, what is the length of here in system.out.println? Now let's consider like I made some 10 executions. I executed the Java command 10 times. Now, will this content change? If I execute the Java command for 10 times, will this content change? Yes or no? Will this let's consider like I'll compile the application. Will this content change? Length is changing? Is this content changing? Length colon? See, is this content changing from execution to execution? Is the highlighted content changing from execution to execution? Yes? No. See, if we pass 4 also, this content is not changing. So, the content that doesn't change at the time of execution is called as static content. Okay? The content that doesn't change at the time of execution is called as static content. But this value is changing, no? First it was 0 for no command line arguments, 2 for 2 command line arguments, and 4 for 4 command line arguments. Okay? So, in a string, the delimiter between static content and dynamic content is plus. See, this is a static content which will not change. This is content which may change. If we have passed 2 command arguments, there will be 2. If it is 0, it will be 0. It will be 4. If it is 4, it is 4. That means it is a dynamic content, right? The array will change dynamically based on the number of command line arguments that we send. So this is dynamic. That means which can change at the runtime is called as dynamic. The content which can be changed at the runtime is called as dynamic. And in case of strings, the delimiter between static content and dynamic content is plus. In case of strings, the delimiter between static content and dynamic content is plus. In case of strings, the delimiter between static content and dynamic content is plus.
Can you pass the stringer argument?
Where?
The stringer argument.
Can we pass a string as an argument to the main method? That's what we are doing, right? See, if we send A will not go as A will go as what we are sending here, A10 20B, no? Now, If we are sending A 10 20 B, it will go as like this. A 10 20 B. So it will go as a string array like this. And all these are strings, right? Okay, that's how it will be. Now the delimiter between static content and dynamic content in case of string is plus. Okay, so here the static content is this length and it will not change, but this content will change, so we have delimited them by plus. Okay, you will go when we discuss about strings, you can come to know about this plus. Okay, but right now just we make it a note like the delimiter between static and dynamic content is a plus. Now let's consider that let's consider like if I send only one argument. If I send only one argument, see, this string array is used to refer to the arguments that I am sending from the command prompt. Okay, while executing the Java command, let's consider if I am sending 4 arguments, then it is coming to the first main method just because there are 4 arguments. Now let's consider that if I am sending only one argument. If I send only one argument like this, let's consider like I will compile the application first. Sorry, it's spelling mistake. It's static. Let's consider that I have compiled the application. Okay. Now while executing the application, I am sending only one command line argument. Now, will it come to the first main method or the second main method? See, if I send some values like this 10, 20, 30, 40 which are more, then definitely it will come to the first. But if I am sending only one, that I am asking, if I am sending only one command line argument, then will it come to the first main method or second main method which has only one argument? Definitely first main method, just because whatever the number of command line arguments it might be, okay, what the runtime environment will do means the runtime environment will populate the command line arguments in the array. If we send only one command line argument, what happens? Only the array length will be 1. Anyhow, in any case, the command line argument will send only array to the main method, not a string. If we send only one command line argument and if we send an array with one element. Okay, understood? If we send only one command line argument, then the runtime environment will create an array with one element. If we send two command line arguments, the runtime environment will create an array with two elements. If we don't send command line arguments, the runtime environment will create an array with 0 elements. At any cost, the runtime environment will send only an array to call the main method. So, at any case, the public static void main with string array of arguments will be executed. Okay? This main method will not be executed. Okay? Now, if the interviewer asks you like, can I have multiple main methods in the same class? Yes? But you should tell yes, and you should tell the reason also. Yes, we can have multiple main methods in the same class until they are overloaded. Okay? Until they are overloaded, we can have multiple main methods in the same class. Until main methods are overloaded, we can have multiple main methods in the same class. We can have multiple main methods in the same class until those main methods are overloaded. Now, while executing this application, if I send 10 and 20, while executing this application, if I send 10 and 20 as an argument, which main method will it call? First or second? First. Definitely it will call the first main method, which is taking string array as an argument. But in this case, it will be a compile time error, just because before the method name it should be the return type. Before the method name, it should be the return type. If we try to keep any other thing other than return type before the method name, then it will be a compile time error. For any method, before the method name, it should be the return type. For any method, even main or x or y or z, whatever the method it might be, before the method name, it should be the return type. If we keep anything other than the return type before the method name, it will be a compile time error. Before the method name, there should be the return type. Okay? If there is anything other than the return type before the method name, then it will be a compile time error. See, it's something a compile time error. Okay? So, we should have the return type before the method name. Just I have changed, what I have changed is, I have shuffled the static to void and void to static. That's it. Okay? Previously, it was void static. Now, I have made it static void. That's it. Now it will be compiled and even executed successfully. Okay, so before the method name, it should be the return type. See, it will get empty array, no? If it is empty array, then what is the length of the array? Obviously.
But that also length it takes a zero.
That's what I am telling. If the array is empty, then what is the size of the array? Size of the array means the number of elements present in the array. Number of elements present in the array for empty array will be 0. So, after knowing all these things, let us switch over to the object-oriented programming concepts. Object-oriented programming concepts. You want to call the second main method? Okay. That's one more thing. Good point. Let's consider like I have main method even in person class. Let's consider like I have a main method even in the person class. Now what I need to do is I need to make a call to the main method of the member demo class from the main method of the person class. First, I'll execute Java space person, and from person I need to call the member demo main method. So how I can call the main method of the member demo class from the person class means main let me see this structure. Yes. Just how I can create a new string array means just new string array. I told that even a array can act as a derived data type. If it is a derived data type, I can create an object. Now it's not an object to string, it's an object to string array. So see, in general in C what we do, if it is an integer array, in C that I am telling, we do like this, right? 10, 20, 30 like this. Okay, just to populate the values. In the same way, what I am doing is I am creating new string array by populating the values. If I want to call the second main method, new integer array by passing some value like this. Since second is integer array, I am passing 0. First is a string array, I am passing some null. This is how we can define arrays. New arrays, some default values. Okay. Now, if I execute person, automatically the main method, first main method of the first main method of this memo demo, as well as even the second main method is also executed. Now, let me try to clear this, compile this, and let me execute person class. From person class, what I am doing is I am making a call to the main method of the. I am making a call, so SIB person is executed, and then length 1, okay, null. Length 1 null means here it's coming here, and I am passing one argument, null. So in the for loop, null is being executed. See, in order to call the main method, what I am doing, I am passing one argument, null. So even if I can pass like this, a empty string array, okay. If I send an empty string array, then the length is 0 and it will not be executed the for loop. So either we can send an empty string array or we can send some values in the string array. See, now what I am doing, I am passing a empty string array. This will create a new string array. New string array which is empty. I can pass any number of values. Let's consider like I am passing a comma b. So now this args will be having two values, a and b. So if I compile and execute this, so args will be having length 2, a and b. So That's how I can call the main method of one class from other class explicitly. Some of the interviewers will be asking like, can I call the main method from the application? Can I call main method from the application? Yes or no? Can I call main method from the application? Only three are answering. Either it is yes or no, just answer. Definitely we can call the main method through the application. How we can call means just the class name dot main by sending some values, some string array. Now let's consider like, can I call the main method like this? Can I call the main method directly like this? Let's consider like I have a very simple thing. Okay, now can I call the main method of memo demo like this by sending just null value? Just recall the things that we have discussed right now within these 10 minutes. You need to? You should specify the data type of the passing value. Okay? Any other things? Previous to that we have told one more point. Just see that. Previous to that I have told one point. Okay. You are close to that? Okay. Then what it will give? Compile time error. You are close to something, but again you have taken a U-turn. Main method? Okay. We can't call by sending null. Any other answer? Just that's what I had told. Just refer to the things that we have discussed for 10 minutes. For past 10 minutes. You can get the answer. Can we call like this or not? I know that you have attended for the previous class. So yes, two forward slashes will comment it. See, the 19th line is commented. So commented lines will be there in green color in edit class. You can ignore them. The commented lines can be ignored. Just concentrate only upon the 18th line. Just refer to the notes that we have just discussed for the past 10 minutes and tell the answer. The answer might be yes or no. If it is yes, you should tell how it can be called. If it is no, you should tell why it should not be called. So, prepare for the answer also.
Actually, ambiguous array is the derived data type. Will be ambiguous
Okay. Array is it?
derived data type.
Okay.
Derived data type can be called to the
Okay. That's great. Derived data type for derived data types. Okay. See what I told. Any array can be a derived data type. Any array. It might be a string array or integer array or byte array or any array can be a derived data type. Now, for any derived data type, can I send a null as a value? Can I send null as a value for any derived data type? Definitely. We can send null as a value for any derived data type. I can send null as a value for any derived data type. It might be a string or a string array or integer array or any array is a derived data type, right? And in Java, any derived data type can accept null. That's what I told you in the very first class. Any derived data type can accept null in Java. And what I told now in the current class, every array is a derived data type. Now, can an array accept nulls? Yes. Array can accept nulls. Okay? Now, if I try to compile this, what is it telling? 7 something expected. Where it is expected? Now what is saying? Reference to main method is ambiguous. Why it is telling it is ambiguous? Just because both are derived data types, no? See, string is also a derived data type. Int array is also a derived data type. But it could not be able to correctly fetch to which method it should go. To which method it should go? Again it's a confusion. Just because null can be accepted by both the derived data types. Either it might be a derived data type which is a string array or a derived data type which is an integer array. So now it is ambiguous. Okay? So only one girl told that it is ambiguous, but even she was not that much confident. Okay? So it's a great thing to tell the answer, but while telling the answer you should be confident enough. That is the thing. But if I might have asked for 2 or 3 times, again you will think. So whatever the answer that you are telling, you should be confident. Okay? And this will be an ambiguous situation just because both are derived data types. Both can accept nulls. But which one we should call? Which one we should connect? It's a confusion. So it gave that it is an ambiguous situation. Now let's consider that there is only one main method. Now can I call main method just by sending null? Yes, it's valid. And it will be executed. The main method of the member demo is being executed. Okay, so I can send a main method, I can call a main method just by passing null as a value. It's accepted. Okay?
Sir, how to overcome that ambiguity?
How?
How to overcome that ambiguity not coming out?
How we can overcome means while passing the value. Okay? We can send null as a value, but while passing the value, okay, we should pass a empty string array. See, we should be more specific. While passing the value, that's what I told. In order to avoid ambiguity, while passing the values, we should be more specific. So, I will be more specific that I am sending a empty string array. So, if I pass an empty string array, what happens? It will make a call just to the first main method only. So, the ambiguity will not be there. So, to avoid ambiguity while passing the values, we should be more specific. We should send a specific value only. If I send null, what happens? Null is a generic value for all the derived data types. Null is a generic value for all the derived data types. So, both first method can accept null, as well as even second method also can accept null. So, the ambiguous situation arises. So, to avoid this ambiguity, let's consider like I am passing a new integer array. Now, what happens? Which method will be called? Will it call the first method or a second method? Will it call the first method or the second method? If I pass an integer array. If you pass an integer array, will it call the first method or the second method? Definitely it will call the second method. If we pass a string array, an empty string array, it will call the first method. So while calling the method, in order to avoid these ambiguous situations, while calling the method, we should be more specific that we are calling the method with the exact data type. Okay? That's how we can avoid these ambiguous situations. Understood? See, here we are creating a empty string array. We are creating a empty string array. Now, how we can create a normal string array here means just let's consider like if we want to create an integer array. Like this. The creation of array will be little bit different when compared to C. But the assigning the values to array will be the same. But the creation of array will be little bit different when compared to C. This creation of array will be little bit different when compared to C. Okay? But assigning the values to array, incrementing the array, or looping the array will be one and the same. But declaring an array will be little bit different. Now directly I can pass now which main method will be called in the member demo, first one or the second one? Second main method will be called. Okay, it is calling the second main method. Now, if I want to call the first main method, just I'll create a string array. This is how I can create arrays in Java. The arrays in definition will be the same. Assigning the values to the array will be the same in C and Java, but declaring array will be a little bit different. Okay? Now, just if I try to compile this, execute this. So it's called the main of member demo. So it's calling the first method. Understood? Now let's switch back to the object-oriented programming concepts.
Why there is no one in copy constructor?
Copy constructor. Copy constructor. I don't know what is copy constructor. I don't know C++ basically. Basically. That's why I told in the very first class, don't compare C++ and Java. Java has its own features. See, if all features of C++ are there in Java, they will use C++ only. Okay? So, treat Java as an independent programming language. Don't compare that. If you compare that, unnecessary confusion will be there. Okay? If you compare that, what you will know, what you will think is, why sir is not telling about copy constructor? Okay? So, whatever I am telling, that will be useful and that will be there in Java. Okay? Whatever that I am not telling, that will not be there in Java. Okay? Object-oriented programming concepts. Okay? If any programming language is to be qualified as an object-oriented programming language. Okay? If any programming language is to be qualified as an object-oriented programming language, then that programming language, if any programming language wants to be qualified as a object-oriented programming language, then that programming language should support. The programming language should support all the principles of the object-oriented programming language. The programming language should support all the principles of the object-oriented programming language. In general, we can call a programming language as an object-oriented programming language. We can call a programming language as an object-oriented programming language only when that programming language supports all the object-oriented programming principles. Okay? We can call a programming language as an object-oriented programming language only when that programming language supports all the 4 object-oriented principles. Then, what are the object-oriented programming principles means? The first one is encapsulation. Second one is inheritance. And the third one is polymorphism. And the fourth one is abstraction. These are the 4 object-oriented principles, object-oriented programming principles. A programming language is said to be object-oriented programming language only when it supports encapsulation, inheritance, polymorphism, and abstraction. Okay. Already we have discussed why Java is called as an object-oriented programming language. Just because whenever we want to execute something, we should go through the object. We should go through the reference. Okay. A reference, a class name as a reference should be used for static methods, and object as a reference should be used for non-static methods. So, if you want to execute something, we should have a reference. We should have some object. If you want to call non-static methods, definitely we should have object. So, the execution of code depends upon the data that we send. So, Java is said to be an object-oriented programming language that we have discussed earlier. Now, if Java wants to be qualified as an object-oriented programming language, definitely Java should support encapsulation. It should support inheritance, and it should support polymorphism, and even it should support abstraction. How encapsulation is implemented in Java, or how inheritance is supported in Java, or how polymorphism is supported in Java, and how abstraction is supported in Java. That's what we need to learn. The concepts wise, the encapsulation, inheritance, polymorphism, and abstractions, the concept wise everything is same in any programming language. But how that programming language supports the object-oriented programming concept is different. How the object-oriented concepts are implemented in programming languages is different. Okay? The implementation, the way of support is different, but the concept is the same. See, let's consider like encapsulation. Encapsulation in Java is supported in some way, but the same encapsulation is supported in C++ in some other way. But the approach that we take is different. But the concept wise, all these four object-oriented programming concepts will be same for any programming language, for any object-oriented programming language. Okay? Then what we need to learn here is how Java supports encapsulation, how Java supports inheritance, and how Java supports polymorphism and abstraction. That we need to learn, and that we'll discuss. First, we'll discuss what is a specific concept, and then we see, okay, how Java supports them. First, we discuss about encapsulation. Now, let me write a new class. Encapsulation demo. And one more thing, okay, we should not locate, okay, the .java files as well as .class files within the same folder. It's not a correct thing, okay. As a standard, we should keep the source files in one location and executable files in some other location. Now, let me create a new folder named oops. In this oops, okay, in one folder I should create the source, and in another folder I should create classes. It's a standard way of representation, okay. Right now, previously what we have done is, in the same folder we had source as well as the .class files. But it's not the correct way to do. The source should be there in one folder and the classes should be there in some other folder. It's a standard way of doing. Okay? Source should be there in some folder, classes should be there in some other folder. So what we do is, here in oops, what we do is, we create a folder, the name. The standard way is representing the source using src. src is the folder which is used to represent the source, and this is the standard way. Use only src, don't use your name, okay. It's the standard way to use src for source and classes for .class files. Now, the src, that means the source code should be there in the src and the .class file should be there in the classes folder. Okay, this is the standard way of representation. Okay, we should not keep the .java files and .class files in the same location. .java files should be there in the src and .class files should be there in the classes folder. Okay, now let me keep the .java file in the src. In oops, let me go for src. In src, let me keep the .java file. Now in src, if you see here, in oops src we have kept encapsulation demo.java. Okay, now let's consider like we have a class person. We have a class person. Okay, now let's consider like the person is having a value ID. Now let's consider that Okay, now can I do like this? Can I do like this? Yes or no? Somebody doesn't know?
Defined in static, but static.
That's why I asked you to come to every class. Might have come to the first class, no? Am I correct? So this is possible just because we are creating the object, and using the object reference we can make use of non-static attributes. Okay? Using the object as a reference we can make use of non-static attributes. It's fine. Now we can assign the value of id. But where we are changing the value of id? Where we are changing the value of id? No, at which location in this program we are changing the id value? Sixth line. Where the sixth line is? Where the fifth line is? In which class the fifth line is? Main method of which class? Encapsulation demo. Now, which class value we are changing? Person class. That means the person class value we are changing inside encapsulation demo. Now, will it go to person to change the value, or will it directly change the person value? Now, see, if I change the value of person, will it go again into the person class, or will it change directly there? Will it go again into the person class to change the value? No, directly there we are changing it. But it's not a correct way. Okay? It's not a correct way. Whatever the operations that we are doing for a class, it should be done only in that class. Whatever the value that we change, okay, related to the class, it should be done only in that class itself. See, if we are distributing the authorities to all the classes and we can change the value in all the classes, it will be very difficult to maintain. Let's consider like at one point of time what I am doing is I am changing the id from integer to some string. Let's consider I am changing integer id from integer to string. Then if you are making, if you are using the 100 places, and all the 100 places I should change the value from integer to string, which is hard to maintain and which is not a secure way of doing it. Okay? As per the standards, what we need to do is, if we change the value of attribute of any class, we should go to the class and change the value, but we should not expose this attribute to outside the class. Got my point? Okay, if I want to change the value, let's consider that if I want, if a person wants to change something in my house, okay, let's consider like something is there with me. If there is something is there with me, and without your permission, if somebody else is changing your properties, is it a correct thing? No. Without giving anything to no, without your notice, if somebody else is changing something, some of your properties, it's not a correct thing. So, if something is changed in the person class, then it should come to the control should come to the person class, and only in the person class itself the value should be changed. But are we doing that now? No, we are directly changing the value of the id which is there in the person class in some other class. But it should not be the standard way of doing. The standard way of doing is, okay, if you want to change anything in the person class, we should do only in the person class itself. We should not give the control of the attributes of one class to another class. We should not give the control of attributes of one class to another class. It's not at all a standard way of doing it. Okay? The control of attributes should be there only with that class itself. And if somebody wants to change the value, it should come to the class and it should change the value. Okay? But is this now like that? Is this now restricted that id should be used only inside person? No, right? So, if I want to restrict like that, if I want to restrict that id should be used only in person, If anybody wants to change the value of ID, he should come into the person and change the value. Okay? Then if we can restrict like that, then it will be advantageous, right? Then we can make that if ID value is changed, then it should come to the person and change the value. Okay? If that is like that, then we can easily manage the application. But if we do like this, if we give the authority to change the ID at all the places, then can we really manage the application easily? See, if we give ID, if we give the access of ID to all the places, if we give the access of ID to all the places, then can we manage the application easily? Or if we tell that the ID should be accessed only in that person, if you want to change the ID, if you come to the person and change the ID. Okay? It is the second case. The first case is we will give the access to ID to all the classes. The first case is we will give the access of ID to all the classes so that any class can change the ID. That's the first case. The second case is we won't give the access of ID to all the classes. But if other classes wants to change the value of ID, then the control should come to the person and change the ID. Then which one do you think is better to maintain? The first or second approach? Obviously, the second approach will be very advantageous. So, how I can achieve the second approach? How I can restrict that this ID should be used only inside person? Means I'll use the access level private. We have 4 different types of access levels: private, default, or default even is called as package. Protected. Okay. This is the ascending order of the access level. These are all access levels. And this will define the access of members. Just they will define the boundaries of members. Up to what point these can be accessed. Okay, we'll discuss regarding the access levels in depth when the time comes, but just make it a note like private, default, protected, and public. These are the 4 access levels, and default can be even called as package. Default or package access level both are the same. Okay, protected and public. This is the ascending order of the access levels. Private is small, default is comparably big, and protected is bigger than default, and public is the biggest. This is the ascending order of the access levels. Now, how we can restrict a member to a class means by making it private. If you make a member as private means, let me close this. If you make a member as private, then it can be accessed only in that class. If you make a member as private, then it can be accessed only in that class. If it is public means it can be accessed anywhere. If it is public, it can be accessed anywhere. If it is private, it can be accessed only in that class. If the member is public, it can be accessed anywhere. If the member is private, it can be accessed only within the boundaries of the class. Now, are we restricting that person should be, the ID should be accessed only inside person? Are we restricting that ID should be used only in the person? Yes. Okay. Now that is the first part. The second part is, okay, if you want to change, if any other entities wants to change the value of person, it should come to the person and change the value. Then how I can do that? Okay. Let's see that. First, let's see this. Can we access the ID outside the person? Okay. No. So it will give a compile time error. Sorry? It's what's the basics? In OOPS SRC we have the .java files. Okay? Now let me try to compile. What's giving? What's the error? ID has a private access in person, but you are using that outside the person. Now it is giving a compilation error just because ID has access private inside person and it is supposed to be used only within the boundaries of the person. If it crosses the boundaries of the person, then it will be a compilation error. So if the access level is private, then we are restricting that member to that particular class. It cannot cross the boundaries of the class. And attributes can be private, methods can be private, and even constructors also can be private. Okay? See, object is not a member of a class, right? Object is a different concept and members is a different concept. Constructors can be private, that's what I told you now. Constructor can be private, methods can be private, and even attributes can be private. And this initialization blocks doesn't have any access levels. Initialization blocks doesn't support access levels. Okay? Methods, attributes and constructors support access levels. And all of them can be private. Methods, attributes, constructors, only these three support access levels. And all of those three can be private. Initialization blocks doesn't support any access levels. So why the error is means we are trying to access ID inside a person. Now let's consider like I have created a person and I want to change the value of person, ID of the person. Let's consider like I have ID and now I have created a person object and I want to change the value of ID and name. Can I change the ID and name from the main method? Can I change the ID and name from the main method? No. Okay? So it's not possible to change the value from the main method, but it's not correct. Okay? I did not tell that we can never change the value from other classes. We should provide a possibility to change the values, but if you want to change the values, it come to the person class. But we should provide that value. We should provide that access. If you want to change the value, then it should come to the person class and change the value. Okay? But here, are we doing like that? Are we doing that now? Are we providing a possibility to change the value from other classes? No. From other classes, we cannot access ID and name. But how we can change the value? Means through methods. For each and every attribute, for each and every private attribute, there should be two methods. One to set the value and another to get the value. For each and every attribute, there should be two methods. One to set the value and another to get the value. Okay? So, and those methods should be public. So, let me take ID. I'll write a method. And those methods should be non-static. Now, what I am doing is, I have written a simple set method for the ID. See, if the value is ID, then here I should be careful. Set, the convention is set, I should be careful. Just because these are set is one word, ID is another word. So set ID, I should be careful. Understood what we have done? Just now, can I change the value of ID from the main method? Can I change the value of ID from main method? Yes. How I can change the value of ID from main method? How I can change the value of ID from main method? So what it will do? If I want to change the value from the other classes, what I'm doing? I'm executing setID method. Will setID method again come to this class? Will setID method will again come to this class to change the value of ID? We are providing a possibility of changing the value, but if you want to change the value, it should come into person class and change the value. Is that the way that we are doing? Yes. Okay. If I want to change the value, I should come into the class and change the value. That is the possibility that we are providing. Are we giving a direct access of ID to other classes? Are we giving the direct access of ID to other classes? No. We are not giving the direct access of ID to other classes. Okay? In place of giving direct access, what we are doing? We are trying to create a setter method. This is called as a setter method of ID. We are creating a setter method to ID. And if you want to change the value of ID, we execute that method. Okay? So, now we are changing the value, but we are not changing the value outside the main. Sorry, outside this class. If you want to change the value, the control should be transferred to this class, and within this class itself the value should be changed. Okay? Now, in the same way, I'll write a setter even for name also. And the setter method should be public. And the return type should be void for setter methods. The setter methods should be public methods and the return type should be void. And the argument should be of the same name, of the same class. Now, if you want to modify the value of name, I'll send that modified name value and I'll come into the person class and through set name method I'm changing the value of name. Okay? Understood? Now, how I can get what is the value of, what is the ID of person here? Let's consider like after some 10 statements, I want to get what is the ID of person and what is the name of person. How I can get what is the ID of person and what is the name of person here? How I can get what is the ID of person and what is the name of person here? Can I use like this? Can I use like this? No. Okay? If I can't use like this, then how I can get the values? In order to get the values also, we should write separate method, a getter method. So, to modify the value, we should write a method, and to get the value also, we should write a method. The method that we write to modify a value is called a setter method. Okay? The method that we write to get the value is a getter method. The getter method should be public, and the getter method return type should be the same data type. What is the data type of ID? Int. Get ID, and it should be non-augmented. And we'll return the current ID. Okay? In the same way, Now, can I get the value of ID of person from the main method? How I can get the value of ID of person from the main method? What, Sharat? How we can get the value of ID? By calling the get method. That's correct. So what I'll do is system dot out dot println. Just I'll call the get ID. So if you want to populate the value into the ID, or if you want to get what is the value in the ID, we are not having the direct access to ID. Okay? If you want to modify the value, or if you want to get the value, we are going into the person class and we are getting the value, or we can modify the value. That means we are providing an encapsulation for the members of the class. We are providing some encapsulation to the members of the class that, okay, if you want to modify some value of ID, you should go into the ID. That means this class will act as a encapsulated block for that members. Understood? This class is acting an encapsulated member for the class, so that whoever wants to, okay, modify the value of the attributes of the class, they should access the methods by creating the object. We are providing some encapsulation to that members of the class, so that if you want to change the value, or if you want to access the value of the members, then we should create the object to the class, and through the object as a reference only we should call the methods, and through the methods only we can set or get the values. This is what logically encapsulation is. Okay? If you want to try to access the values, okay, just we are providing encapsulation that if you want to get the values or modify the values, we should go through the class only. We cannot do it directly. Okay? If you want to get the values, or if you want to modify values, we should go into the class and modify the values. Or if we want to get the values, we should go into the class and get the values. So, just we are providing a class as encapsulation, so that whatever we want to do, we will do in a class, and if the other classes wants to access them, if the other classes wants to access those members, it should go through the encapsulation. It should break the encapsulation and it should go through the encapsulation. So, just what we are doing is, we are restricting the properties to the person. We are restricting ID and name to the person, and if others want to access, if others want to modify the person information, then the control should come into the person and it should modify the person. So, that's how encapsulation is. That's what logically encapsulation is. Okay? And technically, if you want to tell a definition for encapsulation, then all the properties and behaviors. All the properties and behaviors. Properties means attributes. Behaviors means methods. And some call behaviors as even operations also. Properties means attributes. Okay? Behaviors or operations. Operations are methods. Okay? Behaviors, operations represent the methods. Technically, if you want to tell a definition to encapsulation, all the properties and behaviors of an entity, all the properties and behaviors of an entity should exist in that entity. All the properties and behaviors of an entity should exist in that entity. That means all the attributes and methods related to an entity should exist in that entity itself. All the attributes and methods related to a class should exist in that class itself. That's one part of the definition. Okay? All the properties and behaviors of an entity should exist in that entity. Okay, and the properties of the entity should be restricted to that entity. The properties of an entity should be restricted to that entity. And the values of the properties should be exposed through behaviors. And the values of the properties should be exposed through behaviors. Now that's what encapsulation is. Okay? An entity is said to be an encapsulated entity if it supports all these things. If all the properties and behaviors are existing in that entity, and if all the properties are restricted to that entity, and if if the behaviors are used to expose the values of that entity, then that entity is said to be an encapsulated entity. Now, if I have attributes which are non-private, can I tell that as an encapsulated entity? Let's consider like person is like this. Now, can I tell person as an encapsulated entity? Can I tell person is an encapsulated entity? No, just because I can access the ID from outside also. Like this. Can I access ID like this? Now, can I tell it as an encapsulated entity? No, we cannot tell it as an encapsulated entity. If this is an encapsulated entity, all the attributes should be private, and each and every attribute should have a setter and a getter. A setter to set the value, getter to get the value. Okay? All attributes should be private, and what I told, all the properties should be restricted to that entity, and the values of properties should be exposed through behaviors. That means for each and every attribute it should be private, and the value of each and every attribute should be exposed through methods. That means for each and every attribute there should be a setter, a getter. A setter to set the value, getter to get the value. Then only it is a perfect encapsulated entity. So if it is a perfectly encapsulated entity, then all the attributes will be private, and for each and every attribute there will be a setter and getter. Then only an entity is said to be a 100% encapsulated entity. How I can call a class as 100% encapsulated means all the attributes of the class should be private, okay, and all the attributes should have corresponding setters and getters. Setters to set the value, getters to get the value of the attribute. Then only an entity is said to be 100% encapsulated. Then what is the use of encapsulation? See, we have known what is encapsulation, and we have seen through the application also how the encapsulation works in Java. But what is the use of encapsulation? Why we need to encapsulate a class? Hiding? Why we should encapsulate a class? The encapsulation of class then can be done because of security, just because the personal information should not be exposed without the knowledge of person. So security and maintenance. Okay, yes, we can maintain the data very easily if that is at one place. If the attributes are exposed to all the places, and if we are giving the ability to change the values from all the places, then it will be difficult to maintain that. The best advantages of encapsulation are security and maintenance. We can easily maintain, and it's better secure to have private. Some of the people, if you go for any training center, they will simply tell that hiding the data inside the object is encapsulation. See, are we really hiding the data? We are not hiding the data. Hiding the data means it should not be accessible at all. It's not an encapsulation. I don't think it is an encapsulation. Encapsulation is not hiding the data. It's not like putting it into jail. Okay? We are putting it into a restricted area, okay, where we can access that. Through methods. But hiding means something like we cannot access. If we hide something, we cannot access that. But it's not hiding. Okay? We are putting some restrictions that if you want to access that, you should access through the method only. If any other class wants to access this attribute, let's consider like in the main method, if you want to change the value of ID of the person, then the control should go into the person and the control should go to the setter method, and only in the setter method we can access the person. Okay, that's how the encapsulation works. The encapsulation is not really making the data to be inaccessible. People will think like if you encapsulate the data, it will be inaccessible. But the encapsulated data will be accessible, but only through methods. Okay, the encapsulated members will be accessible, but not directly, only through members, only through methods. If you want to access the encapsulated member to modify the value, then we'll use setter method. If you want to access the attribute to get the value, we'll use getter method. But we don't have a direct access, we have an indirect access to the attributes, and that too only through the object. Now, if you are not creating the object, can we really access them? Can we really access the ID and name? No. If we are not creating the object, we cannot access the set ID and set name, which are non-static. And setter and getter methods will not be static. Okay? Setter methods and getter methods will not be static in general. And this class, this encapsulated entity, is called as a Java bean. Java bean. This encapsulated entity in general, a perfectly encapsulated entity will be called as a Java bean, or in general some people will call it as a use bean. Just use bean or Java bean, they are perfectly encapsulated entities. The entities that are perfectly encapsulated are called as Java beans, or we can call even as use beans. Now, a person is a use bean just because all attributes are private and all methods are public. Okay, and each and every attribute it has its own setter and getter methods, and the setter method name should be set the property name. Let's consider like if I have test method to set the value of ID, is it a correct naming convention? Let's consider like the method name is test and test is used to set the value of ID. Is it a correct naming convention? No. The method name should reflect why we are using the method. So if it is set ID, then it reflects the purpose. It is used to set the value of ID. Okay? Like that, naming convention of the methods should reflect the purpose why we are using the method. And all the setter methods will be public and all the setter methods will be void. And the setter method will have set the attribute name, set ID, set name, okay, set age, like that. Okay, and the argument of setter method will have, the list of arguments will be 1. Okay, the setter method arguments will be, only one argument will be there for a setter method, and the argument will be the data type of the attribute. What is the attribute data type? What is the data type of attribute ID? Int. Then the argument is also of data type int. The setter method of ID argument is also of int. So the value that I am setting here, this dot ID equal to ID. That means the value that I am setting 10 will be set to the attribute ID. Okay, and in the same way, if you see set name, okay, public void set name, the data type is string. Just because for name the data type is string, here also the name data type is string. Now this dot name equal to name. Now come to the getter method. The getter method will be an augmented method. The getter method will be a no argumented method. Okay, and the getter method name will be get the attribute name. And the getter method return type will be the same as attribute. And even the getter method will be public. And from the getter method what we'll do? Just we'll return that attribute value. The setter method will be public, it will be void, and the name will be set the attribute name. Okay? And the argument, the list of arguments will be 1. The arguments contain the data type of the attribute. What is the data type of the attribute? So this is the setter method. And what is the data type of the attribute? ID? Int. So the argument also contains int. And we are setting the value. Here also the name, set name. This is setter method for name. The data type is string, so argument is also string. So this dot name equal to name. If we come to the getter also will be public. It contains the return type as the data type of the attribute. For which attribute it is the getter method? For which attribute is this is the getter method? ID. So what is the data type of ID? So the return type is int, and we are returning corresponding attribute value. So that's how the encapsulation will be. Understood? Why we need to encapsulate and how we can encapsulate and what are the advantages of encapsulating an entity? Understood? Then this is what practically the encapsulation is. Any doubts? Any doubts regarding encapsulation? Somebody is feeling like this? No? Don't have any doubts? Now some of the interviewers will be asking like, how I can call a class as 100% encapsulated? Can I make a class as 100% encapsulated? Yes or no? Can I make a class 100% encapsulated? Yes. A class can be 100% encapsulated by maintaining all attributes as private and a setter and getter for each and every attribute. That's what encapsulation, and how encapsulation is achieved in Java means, how you can achieve encapsulation in Java? How can you achieve encapsulation in Java? By maintaining all the attributes as private and by maintaining a setter and getter method, a public setter and getter, not just setter method, a public setter and getter method for all the attributes. By making this, we can achieve encapsulation in Java. Okay? And the advantages of encapsulation are the same for any programming language. But how we can implement in Java is specific here. And one more thing, inside system.out.println we should not give any void methods. Inside system.out.println we should not give any void methods. Now let me execute this. Just compile, then let me execute this. But if I try to give void methods, it will be a compile time error. Let's consider like, if I try to use void methods inside the system.out.println, it will be a compile time error. Then what is the return type of set ID? Void. So we should not give void methods in the system.out.println. It will be a compile time error. This will be a compile time error. See, void type is not allowed here. Okay, we should not give void methods in the system.out.println. It will be a compile time error. Now, let me go back. Let me go back to the getter method and let me try to compile this. It's compiled successfully. Now, if you see the location where the .class file is generated, Is the dot class file generated in the SRC or classes? Is the dot class file generated in, let's consider this is the SRC, and if you see the classes, is the dot class file generated in the classes? No. Is the dot class file generated in the SRC? Yes, right? The dot class file is generated in the SRC. By default, if we execute javac command, the dot class files will be generated in the location from where we are compiling. See, if you delete them, now there is no dot class file in SRC. Now, if I try to compile this, so from where we are compiling? SRC. So, by default, even the dot class files will be placed in the same location. Okay? Now, what we need to do? We need to copy, we need to cut this, and we need to place the classes. Now, it doesn't contain any, but now let me compile once again. If I compile once again, what happens? Again the dot class files will be there. Again I need to cut this, and again I need to place them. So again I need to do. But is it a correct thing to do it manually? No. While executing the javac command itself, we should tell to the javac command that, okay, please put the generated dot class files in some location. Okay. While executing the javac command what it will do? First it will check for compilation errors. If there are no compilation errors, what it will do? It will generate the dot class files. But the dot class files by default they will be generated in the same location from where we are compiling. Okay, the dot class files will be generated in the same location where we are compiling. But we can tell to the javac command that to generate the dot class files in some other location. How we can tell to the javac command that to generate the dot class files in some other location means, just we have an option in javac named D. Okay. See, if we see javac, if we encounter the javac command, it will give the list of options. We have an option named D. What the hyphen details? Just see what hyphen details. What's the description? Specify where to place the generated class files. Using hyphen D option, we can tell where we can specify where we can place the generated class files. Okay? We can specify where we can place the generated class files. Okay? Now I'll specify where we can place the generated class files. So where we can place the generated class files means the classes folder. Let me delete them. Let me delete the existing files. javac space, we give an option named hyphen D space where we need to place the dot class files. Okay, space the class name. This is how we can compile. So we are telling to the javac command that compile encapsulation demo.java, generate the dot class files, and put the dot class files in this location. Hyphen D tells the location where we need to put the dot class files. Okay. Now directly the dot class file will go to the classes folder. And whatever the value that we are giving to hyphen D, that is called as a path of the classes. Okay, path of the classes location. And if that path is given along with the drive, now are we giving the path along with the drive? Are we giving the path of the classes location along with the drive? Yes. So it is called as a absolute path. If we give a path along with the drive, then it's called as a absolute path. If you give the path along with the drive name, then it is said to be a absolute path. And if we give the path, let's see this, and then after we'll see the other things. If we give the path along with the drive name, then it is called as absolute path. Now, are we giving the absolute path here? Yes, we are giving absolute path. So now if you see here, the classes will be automatically generated in the classes location. Now let me delete this again. Now there is no dot class files in the classes. Again let me recompile the application. So it was compiled and the dot class files are generated in classes file. Now we need not to manually cut and paste here. Automatically the JavaScript command will generate the dot class files in that specific location. Okay, so we can do that. And this is absolute path. And there is another path that we can give, which is a relative path. Okay, relative path means we can give the location of classes folder with respect to the current location. Now let's consider, like, what is the current location? We are there in E, we are there in HCO apps. In HCO apps, we have in boost and boost and we have classes. Right? Now where we are? In this location. Now, how we can come from this to this location? Is there a direct link between SRC classes? Is there any direct link between? Is there any direct tree link between? This is, let's consider this is a tree and branch structure. Is there any direct link between SRC classes? No. Then how I can go from SRC classes? First, what we need to do? Since there is no direct link between SRC classes, first what we need to do from SRC? We need to come back to this point. Oops. Let's consider that. So like this. Okay, SRC is not fuller than classes. So what I need to do from SRC? I need to come back to oops, and from here I need to go back to classes. If I want to go from SRC to classes, what I need to do? I need to have two things. One is I need to come back to oops, and second thing is I need to go to classes. If I want to come one step back from the current location, in command prompt you know dot two dots. Two dots means go one step back, and in that location, that means two dots means from here to come here. Okay, two dots means from here to come here. Two dots means one step back. From SRC, it will come to groups. Slash classes means within the group folder, we will check for a child folder classes. Do we have any child folder classes in groups? Yes. So, if you go to the classes and there's the dot class structure. And it's better to give the relative path than absolute path. Just because the folder structures may change. Okay. Now the folder's name is oops. Okay. Tomorrow I will change the folder structure from oops to ABC. So even oops, the folder structure is changed from oops to ABC. SRC will not change, classes will not change. So always it will be better to give a relative path. Now I have dot class files. So now I have deleted. Now I don't have dot class files in the classes location. So if I compile this, the dot class files are located in the classes folder. Just because SRC, what I am telling, from SRC, go one step back. Go one dot means it will come one step back. It will come one step back means it will come to oops. In oops it will search for a folder named classes. In oops do you have any classes folder? Do we have any classes folder? Yes. In that classes folder it will place the dot class files. Understood? So that's how we can compile directly. Now, if I try to execute Java space encapsulation demo, now will it be executed? If I execute Java space encapsulation demo from here, will it be executed? Yes or no? No. Somebody told yes? Who told yes? Just you can tell it. It might be correct. See, If all are telling something means, that doesn't mean the majority will tell the correct answer. Even one or two may or might tell the correct answer. Okay, stick to your answer. Okay, if you tell yes, then how we can execute? If you want to execute, there should be dotless file. Now, do we have any dotless files in the SRC? See, if you want, now where I am in the SRC location. If you see the command prompt, where I am, in which location I am, is there in the SRC. Now, if you want to compile, we should have a .java file. So, we have compiled using a .java file. Now, where the dotless files are located, is that in the SRC or is that in some other folder? Other folder with the name classes. But in the SRC, do we have any dotless file? No. So, if I try to execute this application, first what it will search? It will search for a dotless file with a name. Do we have any dotless file with the name in SRC location? No. So, it will tell error. So, sorry. No class definition found error, encapsulation error. It's not able to find a dotless file within that location. So what we need to do? We need to go to the classes location. Now, let me go to the classes location. How I can go to the classes location? cd space. Like this and go to the cd means change the directory to. Change the directory to. Okay? Change the location to. Now, currently I am in SRC. I want to change the location to classes. How I can represent the classes means dot as classes. That means again it is the same. From SRC it will go to oops, and from oops it will go to the classes. Now, if I try to execute, then it will be executed successfully. Now, I am in the classes, and if I change something, I am in the classes, and let's consider like I have changed the application that I am including even the get name also in the system.out.println. Now I have changed the application. Now, will it be reflected? No, it will not be reflected until we compile the application. Now, can we compile the application from classes? Can we compile the application from classes? No, just because we don't have a .java file. If you want to compile again, what do we need to do? You need to go back to SRC. From classes, how I can go back to SRC? cd space. See, right now I am there in the classes. Right now I am there in the classes. Now, how I can go back to SRC? If you want to go back to SRC, from classes I need to go back to loops. So, one step back. In loops I have SRC. So, yes, SRC. So, I'll come like cd space. It will come to SRC. Now SRC, what I'll do? I'll compile the application. It was compiled. So again I will come to the classes and I will execute the application. Now it is reflected. Okay, that's how we need to develop the applications. Compile from SRC, go to the classes, execute that, and if you were making changes, again go to SRC, compile, and come back to classes and execute. That's what you need to do, and that's how you need to do. That's how you need to develop the applications. Okay? Don't place all the .class files and .java files in the same location. For .class files, classes. For .java files, SRC. Compile from SRC, give the F1D option so that the .class files will be generated in the classes. So go to the classes and execute them. Just follow this approach from now. Okay? That's the ideal approach and the realistic approach that we use in the industries. Okay? In the real-time environment, we don't have SRC and .java files and .class files in the same location. For .java files, we have SRC. For .class files, we have classes. So, we compile from SRC and we execute from classes. Follow the same approach and follow the same standard. Right? Just, we can wind up for the day. And do we need to have class on Sunday? No? Okay. Only on Monday, the same time 6. Now on Monday, we'll start with the next object-oriented principle in here.
on this.